Good morning. It's another chilly day in Melbourne today. We're back in lockdown, so nothing else to do, but that's okay. This morning we are going to be playing two scenarios that I've built for Train Sim 2021. It's not the first one I've made. The first one I made was a passenger interurban on the same route. And these ones are existing ones that I reworked to make them actually work and turn them into normal rather than the career kind. I was about to say competition. Strange words. But anyway, so good morning. We should have some fun today. And if you like these scenarios, they're available on Steam Workshop. So let's go. And I'm driving the workshop version, not my local version, just to show things work okay. Now, the game looks maybe a little quiet, so I'll boost that up while we're going along. That sounds a bit better. Get rid of some cables out of the way. We'll be using Raildriver today. Let's get it all reset. Sunflowers. It's been a strange old world weather-wise this week. Some friends in Germany have had some interesting issues. Anyway, welcome to a new day, driver. Leave your caboose here. So I assume there's a caboose outside. There is. Look at that. And head off to shunt the Pittsburgh steel mill, picking up the cars listed in your shunting instructions. Be careful, because there are plenty of extras around. Most of the points in this scenario are manual, so it's up to you to set them correctly before heading into an area. After coupling up... That's my own fault, I took too long. That's okay. Let's turn on some lights. We've got some lights outside now. Release our brakes. Bit of horn. This has got two. It's got that horn, and it's got a whistle. And a bell. Which seems to not make much noise. But that's okay. Into forward, and off we go. I know one of my regulars who pops into the meet can't join today. I haven't heard from the other two. We're going to be heading back that way in a moment, so let me just pop open the task list so I can set the points behind us. And into reverse while we wait. I had to put these weights into the station stops because the scenario didn't seem to like changing directions without them. Anyway, so we're going to set back to the steel mill, pick up the designated cars, and be careful because there are extras in the yard. Off we go. Apparently it was 10 through that curve. So this is an existing route. It's a commercial one available for TS 2021. It's the Sacramento Northern Southern Division. Much of its length today is the San Francisco Bay Area Rapid Transit System, or BART as it's called. So this part's just houses these days. None of this trackage even exists anymore. So we're driving a little post-World War II steeple cab. This version of the steeple cab, for whatever reason, doesn't change the headlights when you go backwards. That's okay. The pre-war one does. Should only be a skin. Cars are all set in the 40s and 50s. Yeah, I've never seen a car overtake another one before. That was interesting. Those points we can just run through if they're not set. There are trails. These next ones are set okay. Oh, maybe they're not. Yes, they are. It's hard to tell in CS. So just while we're cruising around there, let's check the map because we are going to Pitts Rolled Steel, which is this one. So we need to set some points. That one's correct. And that one's correct. That one's correct. And there we are over there. So our points are all set now. Lovely sunrise happening in the distance there. I'm quite happy with these two scenarios that I've made. The challenge I've had is getting the AI traffic working without conflicting because it's a single line railway and the dispatching system doesn't really like having other active traffic, so you'll see other trains but you won't see them do anything. Coming into the mill siding now. Lots of squealy wheel flange noises. Hope that didn't hurt your ears. We are in the right siding, can see down there it's Pitts Rolled Steel. We're going to pick up this gondola full of steel coils. Got that one. Now we have to pull forward to the stopping point. Placed a little man there to get reminded about the right spot. So now we just have to go and check our points. So we're sitting here and we need to go into here, Pitts Coal 2. So we've changed those points and we need to change those points as well. So we make the crossover there. Back we go. The overhead's modelled quite nicely on this line, I like it. Clunk. And we have our empty gondolas. So now we have to go to Pitts SN Siding 2, which is Pittsburgh Sacramento Northern Siding 2. So I'll just start this moving and we'll jump into the map and go figure out where that is. SN Siding 2, so we have to come up here. Okay, and that's set straight. Alright then. Now, just while that's cruising around there, I'm going to be rude and go and grab my cup of tea that I forgot. I'll be right back. Sorry. A bit rude, I know. My apologies. So sitting over here is, I think that one's Southern Pacific, and around the other side of the plant there's Union Pacific. I didn't put any traffic on those lines because it would force people to own other routes or other locomotive packs. So we'll be going straight ahead here into the siding in front of us. Alright then, so we'll be doing some uncoupling here, so we'll just set handbrake on the first and last, and I'll wait for the timer to run out before I actually uncouple the loco, because I don't want to confuse the scenario. Alright, let's uncouple that, and we have to run ahead into the head shunt now. So next instruction, there's the steel head shunt. If you haven't played this kind of scenario before, you have to tick off each thing to successfully finish the scenario. If you want to close that, I'll do it this way. So now we're just going to go ahead, light engine. Might help if I went with it, eh? I was sitting on the gondola. And we're just popping into the head shunt here. So let's just pop back into the map so we can change this crossover, because we're going to go over there now. So we've set this crossover. And we have to figure out which cars we need to get. So let's just have a look at the... We want the one that ends in 23 and one that ends in 286. Okay, so it's not that one and not that one. All right, so let's go further down. I think from memory it's actually the two in the middle. But let's head down there. On a future stream, I might go through how to build a scenario, perhaps. Because I found Matt Pedalson's recorded live streams from 6 years ago fundamentally useful, much more useful than the manual. I found the manual a little bit confusing. Which I have to say is not actually that unusual, because manuals are usually written for non-technical people, and technical people find manuals that are written for non-technical people fairly confusing. So this is one of the ones we want. It ends in 2-3. And the other one, we'll see when we couple them up anyway, because it'll tell me. Yeah, so we want 37286, which is that one, and 19123, which is that one. Cool. We have those. Now we have to go back into that head shunt. Welcome along to the other person who joined. Oh, and welcome to the first person who was there too, and the people on playback. There's several people on playback. Never know why they don't catch up and join in live, but that's okay. So we're playing a scenario that I've built for the Sacramento Northern Southern Division. We're just building up our train. And it's going to tell me a couple to the train there, so I can reset those. And when the timer runs out, I'll be able to move back. We can get ready for that. And back we go to Pitts SN Siding 2 where we were before. Just hop back to the last car. Feel free to join in the live chat if you would like to. I enjoy being a bit interactive with people. And if you've played these scenarios, let me know what you think of them. We put on some handbrakes before, so we'll take those off. And push back. So we're going to stop just up there. It's interesting that these stopping points that it draws don't actually quite coincide with where the stopping point really is. Ooh, we're inside a boxcar. Now we're inside a tank car. Oh well. It's interesting, those wires just end in midair. Oh well. It's interesting that didn't drop back down to 0. That's alright. And I think that's it for this short one. And now we'll play the longer one. Well, no, surely. There we go. Now, this one I managed to get a scenario complete thing happening. In the next one, I didn't. So we were speeding. Naughty. Improper use of the horn 12 times. I guess that's because I'm not following the or honk rule. Anyway, let's play the second part of this scenario. It's a little bit longer than the first one. We're back with our German train in the sunflowers here. So, welcome to SN Freight West Part 2. We're picking up where we left off. Take your consist forwards to Pittsburgh, pick up your caboose, and then head west to West Pittsburgh before picking up some more cars from Mallard, finally heading on to Port Chicago, our next stop. All points are manual, and you'll need to run the red occasionally. Make sure you always ask for permission before you do. Don't be late or you'll be holding up a passenger interurban. Alright then, so I'll just pop out. It's the same consist we had before. That was one of the interesting things to learn in the scenario editor, was to give everything the same numbers. Because I don't think I'd look, but I'm sure other people would. So these points are already set for me. And we're going back out to Pittsburgh Station now. Okay. Turn our light on again, because it's a different train. And off we go. So we've got the same consist that we just put together in the other scenario. I quite like these car models. They're nice. Now we're going to go up to Pittsburgh and pick up our caboose that we left behind in the other scenario, you may recall. I remembered the 10 this time. Sorry, road people. Let's go and sit on the back of the train. We're going to be picking up this caboose here. As soon as it lets us go. Pull ahead far enough to clear the points and back onto your caboose waiting in the head shunt. Make sure to check the handbrake. Up we go, train. Probably should have done the full honks before I moved, really, given I was already in the crossing. Which I should check. I'm not actually sure when that before honk rule came in for US trains, and whether it applies to the interurban, more tramway style of railway or not. Alright, so set points behind us. And we're going to go back and pick up our caboose. Good morning, Travis. How are you? How was sunny WA today? That'll do. And you can tell when you're coupled up properly because it lights up. And despite needing to check its handbrake is not on. Which I'm pretty sure I left it set on in the scenario, but that's okay. Off we go. Probably should have waited for that. Did I get a tick? I did get a tick, even though I didn't wait. Good. I'd stay here at the back of the train just for shits and giggles. Just something different. Hopefully it'll be a nice day for you in WA today, mate. It's getting a little bit sunnier here, so the rain might stop. Might be able to go out and buy some petrol and actually mow the grass. Actually, the question is buying petrol to mow the grass considered essential since we're only allowed to go out for essential things? That's an interesting question. I think I'll just interpret it as a yes and go and get petrol. Maybe I'll buy a bottle of milk while I'm out there. Then there can be no doubt. Since I used the last of it, and my family will probably be getting out of bed wanting some by the time I finish this. Now we can accelerate a bit now. Now leaving sunny Pittsburgh. Sun's just coming over the horizon, a little bit like WA, mate. And medium cloud, a bit like WA. Actually, Pittsburgh would be Central Valley of the Bay Area in California. It's actually quite close to Sacramento. So I think you would find the weather in this part of California very familiar, Travis. Very similar to what you experience in WA, in Perth. When I lived in the Bay Area, I started in Oakland, which is a much benign city, but I actually found it's a really cool city, really enjoyable. And I used to work in Concord, and later on I moved to Berkeley, up into the little mountain range there, and still worked in Concord. And it was a huge change to go from the very, very benign 20-odd degrees of that side of the hills over into the other side where it would be 35 or 40 degrees Celsius, 100 to 100 or so Fahrenheit in the old money that the Americans use. It was always quite a surprise. It was quite a difficult toll on the car too. I used to go through a lot of brake rotors because the shock would kill them. And Travis, you asked if I've got something scheduled for 1st of August. So the date and time seem to be off on that stream. Well, the stuff I'm running is on my website, but I will certainly check that stream when I finish this one. I don't dare do it now because I don't know what YouTube would do if I switched away from this window. But thank you for that, Travis. I'll certainly have a look at that. Maybe I scheduled it for today. I do have a thing scheduled for today on my primary YouTube account, but that's a different thing. if people are curious, there's a link from this account to my primary one, and it's a local guide's tour of Paran. It was going to be a physical meetup and a photo walk, but unfortunately Melbourne's gone back into lockdown, so the three of us who were organising it turned it into a virtual. Don't know whether anybody will turn up to our virtual meet, but that's okay, we'll have fun. That's the most important thing in life. I should get into the habit of reading out the questions rather than just answering them, because people that watch this later don't know what the question was. So Travis asked if I had something scheduled for the 1st of August, because he'd looked earlier and saw there was a countdown to a stream on that date. And that the date and time seemed to be a little off, so that's what I was talking about when I'll go and check the stream later. Yeah, let's pop back up the front because we're almost there. Start slowing down. We've got a green signal. I'm slowed enough to go into the other line, which is where we're going. I'm going to the West Pittsburgh siding. Little dwarf signals green. Alright, so we have to unhook all of our cars here, I think. The whole lot. Yep. So if you're playing, you just check your numbers in your train versus what you've got there. Now we want to unhook that one. Check the points ahead. Move ahead to clear the junction. Reset and head out to Mallard. Okay, so let's have a look. Center on the player. So that one's fine, and that one's fine. And we're going to be heading out there in a moment. Alright, just stop here for a moment. When I first published this scenario, it didn't work, and one of the reasons it didn't work is I had two stopping points here. I had one right near the signal and one up here, and that seemed to confuse it, so I've had to change it to just one. So set the points behind you and back up to Mallard, stopping on the trestle for more instructions, and stop at the dwarf signal at the end of the Y for permission to proceed. Okay, let's set the points behind us. So that flashing signal, we can go back. It's just letting us know that we're diverging. And away we go. Now, from memory with the little dwarf, I think you actually have to run it, because I don't think it'll actually give you permission. We'll see if it's green today. It's supposed to be, but sometimes it turns up red. Just warning our happy passengers to not get in front of it. Yeah, it's red today, so we'll just run it. The game won't do anything. It's weird that it's like that, because the points are correctly set. Let's just check the points up here while we're up here. So we're going to want to go, because we're going up to pick up those ones. Looks a little wet out by the bay today. You can actually see the other car float over there, which is where Sacramento is. Still love the way the water works in this game. It looks like it really has proper flow. And the reflections are awesome. Yeah, near enough. Look at our reflection. Magnificent. The tracing of the sun on the water is really nice too. And you compare that with a much newer game, TSW2, yuck. Alright, we need to collect 3 boxcars from Ramon Center. Ramon is the name of the barge. You cannot take your locomotive onto the barge, so use the idler flat cars in Dock East to fetch them. Make sure you put the idlers back into Dock East before you leave. So, we checked these points before, but they're the 2 idlers that we're going to pick up. So these points are set correctly to go and get them, so let's go get them. Alright, we've got those. When I was testing these scenarios, I should do it from the map because I'm not sure if the other ones are set right. That one's right. That one's going down the centre. Good-o. Back we go. When I was testing these scenarios, I have to say I derailed this train quite a few times and ended up in the sea a few times. Because when you've run the scenario for about the 500th time testing it, you kind of just want to get it over with. Yeah, the sounds are nice on this. This is one of my favourite routes on Train Simulator. It's done so well. It has a little cult following too. The 3 scenarios that I've built for this have been played more than anything else that I've published. And if you're wondering why you have to use the idler cars, if you put your locomotive onto the floating barge, you would tilt it. Because it's too heavy. So I thought I'd add the idlers into the scenario for a bit of reality. And you don't want to hit these too hard because you push them off the other end. And while it's funny, it's not really what I want to do. They do actually sink too if you push them off. Right, I'm going to pull the whole set forward onto the apron, which is where our loco is now, uncouple and put the idler cars back into Dock East. And then we come back and grab the box cars again. So let's pull forwards. Too fast. Never mind. No one's watching, are they? Oh wait, you are. Alright, we'll leave those there for the moment. We shall set some handbrakes, because if you do not, they roll away. Well, in reality they would. In the game they actually don't. I asked about that once on one of the TS Workshop streams, and they said that the reason they don't roll away is because the physics stops working the second you disconnect them. So the game just ignores them, they just become features. But I prefer a bit of reality. I think I had some breakfast in my mustache there. That's okay. Alright, we have to put these back onto where we got them. I wonder if you hit that thing whether it would move. Handbrakes on. Oops, that one. And disconnect. See from the lighting on the side of the loco that the sun's properly coming up now. The world's getting brighter. Let's flip those back over and we shall go up and get our boxcars. Right in the weeds today. A little bit too much bricks. Just a little bit. Alright, take our brakes off. And off we go. No, the other way. I went to what's left of one of these car floats at Point Richmond in the Bay Area in California when I lived there, and there wasn't a lot left of it. The wooden structure was nearly entirely gone. Certainly not safe enough to go out on. Green signal? Uh-oh. Sigh. Well, that happened. Okay then. Yeah. What I'll do, since we won't be able to get back to where we were, is I will show you what these things look like to build. So I've already got a copy of that one, so we'll have a look at that. So we won't be able to finish that one, because otherwise I'd have to play it all again. That's okay. Unfortunately, that does happen with Train Simulator 2021 from time to time. It just kind of explodes. And it always reports out of memory, but that's not necessarily... Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. That's not necessarily what it actually is. So, there's the caboose we had earlier. Oh, this must be a copy of the other one. So there's the caboose we placed. These are the markers that you put on to set up where to stop and where to start. So some of them come on the route, so that's those colour ones. These colour ones are the ones that you put in the scenario. Oops, let's just zip up here. Our train should be over here. There it is. This is the train that we were in before. And each of these things that you see on the top, they're the instructions that I was following while we were driving along. So there's our driver. Is it going to actually... Yeah. So it tells you what to do. So that's that message that pops up. And then you can see what each of the instructions is. You don't have to look at them this way though. You can look at them all together. And you can see it. The game makes the timetable by itself. You can sort of adjust it to some extent. And in this one, there wasn't any AI. So I did position some other trains. So we'll quickly pop off and have a look at those. So we can go out to where we were. This is Mallard over here. And this is that car barge that we looked at. Actually looks like someone else's scenario marker, not one of mine. And things like the, won't be able to click on that because I'm not editing the route, but these giant things that look like giant speakers are exactly that. They're giant speakers, so that's where all your background noises come from. The sun still looks awesome. So when we were over here before, you could hear things like the water lapping, and you could hear ducks and birds and those sorts of things. That's where that was coming from. And there is one of my favourite things over here. This is just for amusement. There's a trash panda, otherwise known as a raccoon. This is the place where we stopped and started doing some shunting. So you can see where things are allowed to move around and where they walk. So that shows where the pedestrians go. Those dots are where the pedestrians end up standing. And if we pop out to where we were going to go, so we would have come in under here. In reality, this sometimes floods because it's actually below the water level. But I didn't put that on in my scenario because I'm not that mean. And we would have followed along around here. Until we got around here to just coming up on Port Chicago. Confusingly, the two places called Pittsburgh on this map are no longer called Pittsburgh. They're called something else. So you can hear those background sounds here. It suddenly started. That's where they're coming from, that speaker. And same when you get down here, there's some more. So this is one of the AI trains that we would have seen had we kept going. So we pass this one. It's not a ship out there. Let's go look at the ship. You can't even get to this in the game. Oil tanker. Little baby one. Kind of cool. It's amazing how much stuff's modelled and you can't even get to it when you're playing. Oops. Almost went underneath the world then. I'm cruising along down here. It's a little town. A little bit of road noise. And where we would have ended up is down here somewhere at Port Chicago. And this is the interurban that we were told at the start to be careful about holding up. And just for amusement, that's where we would have stopped, right there. Ah, well. Such is life. So we'll pop out of here. Now, interestingly, the only way to get out of the editor is to say, I want to play. So I guess since it's a bit early, because it's only 9:30, so normally run till 10, I won't rerun that one. But what I will do, let's run something else. Let's jump into Quick Drive. Let's pick a route. What haven't we used? Oh, we haven't been to Japan. All right, we'll take that one. I've never driven this one, so we'll see how this goes. Loading up. Ooh, that's loud. Let me turn that down a bit. Actually, you might want the loud. I'll turn me down a bit. So, what are we looking at here? We have got... How did we end up with Amtrak locomotives? I was pretty sure I picked something in Japan. Okay, good on you, game. In fact, a newbie. I must have selected an Amtrak train to run in Japan. Well, that's okay, because we're going to do it anyway. Oh, good. Let's figure out how to make this thing work. Reverse on? Does the horn work? It does. Wait, stop. 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 Hey! Oh, the brakes work with the rail driver. That's good. What if there's anything we have to set up on this one? Sander, headlight switch. Wipers, where about wipers? I don't know if any of those work. Alright, let's give it a crack. Let's see if we can move. And we do forward. Welcome to Amtrak in Japan. Strange. At least Amtrak's PTC signalling system won't attack me because it doesn't exist. Surprise, Japanese truck drivers. Oops. Going a bit quick. Very foggy here. So for the person who just joined, we had a look at the Sacramento Northern, and because we've got some time left and the game crashed, we're now driving an Amtrak train in Japan because we can. Just an opportunity to honk the horn back there. Terrible. So this finishes in 1.5 kilometers. If you're interested, I could pop back into the scenario editor and actually make and drive a really quick little scenario. If you want to see that in action, let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we'll just pick somewhere else random to drive and drive that. Break that a bit early, didn't I? Oh, the meat might have timed out by now. Alright, it's still there. Kill it though, if we don't need it. So, which part of this big long train do I put in the platform? Because it is massive. It's interesting as far as the game's concerned, that one's not a locomotive. Curious. In fact, the game is making the decision for me of how much of the train to put in the platform because there's a red signal. I wonder if they're loud. Look how many horns this thing's got. 5. Alright then. I think that's as far as this Amtrak train goes. And sorry you can't get into the meet, Travis. I'll have to give that another crack next week. I might create a new one because they only last for an hour now. Maybe that's why you can't get in. Well done. You have reached the end of this quick drive scenario. So what I might show you is let's actually build a little quickie and drive it. So we'll just go a really simple one. So let's pick a route and that's all my scenarios. I want to pick a route. But I don't want a new route. I want a new scenario. So we will have to go in here. And I want to pick... Oh, let's go back where we were. So let's go back to Sacramento South End. It's already selected. Tick new scenario. And let's go for a standard. And let's start in San Francisco. And we'll go from there. Doing this has unamused someone because they just left. That's okay. So we just give you a really quick demo of how to build a scenario, and then we'll call it quits for this week. So we are in the Transbay terminal, or more correctly, I believe we're underneath the Transbay terminal. So let's pop up. Let's go back inside it, because we need to be inside it to put trains in. So let's just come up at this end of the platform. And let's plonk down a train. So we'll go with interurban. No, yeah, 3 trailers, right? Actually, no, that's a red one. I want a red one. I want one of the ones we're allowed to drive. That one. No. That one. No. That should be a green one. But it's not. Oh, I know why. Because I'm a dummy. It's alright. I'm just a dummy. Alright, now we want to grab our whole consist because we need to turn him around because he's facing the wrong way. Alright, so there's our consist there. And he's not actually red. It's green, see? Now we'll plonk a driver onto him. And let's give that driver some instructions. So he's called Service 1. Let's just call him Playtime. And he's a player train, that's what this one is, and a passenger train. And let's say we're going out at 7:05, and we are a stopping passenger. So that's that one. Now we have to set an end point, because if you don't set an end point, it gets upset. So we'll drive across the Bay Bridge, and we'll stop once we get over the other side of the Bay Bridge somewhere. We'll make that our end point there, San Bebo. So we need eastbound, because we're in the west now. So let's just set our thing. So we'll stop there. You gonna do it? Come on. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. It's strange. Maybe I can't select that one. Let's try a different one. Market. Market. Eastbound. Let's try that. Yay! Okay. And we want our passengers to get off there, but I can't tick it. That's okay. And we will add a go via, just to force the route that it takes so it doesn't pick something strange. So we're eastbound. Got to be careful over there because not all of that has overhead wires. Pick somewhere on the bridge. There's a spot on the bridge, I'm pretty sure. Yep, there we are. So we'll pick that as... No, that's a crossover. We don't want to go on the crossover. Sure there's somewhere on the bridge. There is. There. So we're going to go via this. Come on, do your thing. Yay. So, still got our departure time as 12. Thought I set that at 7. And we recalculate. And it's still going to insist on 12. All right, whatever. Play. Need to... Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll just get in the thing. So this is a very simplistic little scenario. There's our car there. So let's jump into the cab. Oh, it's red inside, but there you go. Today it's red. So release the brakes. It's already turned on. We want a headlight on. So we should have a headlight now. Let's try with that. There we go. That's better. Horn works. Go into forwards, and hopefully we'll be able to drive. Yay! So that's about the quickest demo of a scenario builder you'll ever see. Already speeding. So we're currently in San Francisco, and this now is a bus terminal. Uh-oh. What happened then? Did I just run over some points? Well, that was quick, wasn't it? Let's try it again. Replay. Let's set the points this time. I had assumed it would set them for me. Hello, Roy. Welcome to the universe. We finished playing what we were playing, partly because the game crashed. And I was just giving a quick demo of a scenario. And it derailed me. So let's just have a look at the map. Center on player. Yes, points are certainly set against us, but I don't think I can set those ones. They're not player settable. Well, that's amusing that the AI hasn't figured that out. So what we'll do, we will go into the world editor. And we'll have to move our train. I'm sure if I can set the points from in here. It's these ones that are set against us. Are these changeable? Oops. Doesn't look like they are even in the world editor. So no, you've got to put up with the routing system. And the routing system isn't doing it right. Ah, well, that's cool. Yeah, so at the moment we're in the world builder, which isn't really where we want to be. So let's jump out of the world builder, and the only way out is to press play. And we will quit out of here, and we'll go back into the builder, and we'll move that train onto a platform that it can actually get out from, which is the one next to it. So we want to... SF Playtime was the one we were in. This is part of the fun of building scenarios, is sometimes the game does something predictable and sometimes it does something dumb, and you just have to keep working at it until you get what you want. But normally the go via would have forced it to pick a good route. It didn't. So we're heading back into the builder now, just waiting for it to load up. Yeah, here we are, back in the builder, back underneath the terminal again. And there's our train down there. Now let's just have a look at map, which is not where we want to be. We want to be over here. You know what I've done? I've made it face the wrong way. So I've tried to go that way, but you can't go that way because these tracks go this way. So what we'll do is we'll turn the train around and it'll work fine. Alright, so back to, let's just set it to be here. Otherwise it'll flip me back where it was. So let's pick our entire consist, which is what that button does. And there should be a little arrow on the top and we can flip it. So now it'll work. So it wasn't that the game did something dumb, I did. Now all these other things, so this is for building the world, laying track naturally enough, laying scenery and putting in trains. You've got all your basic options and things. This adding driver commands, you can do some routing things in here, but generally I don't bother. I use the driver commands for that. You can add all sorts of stuff all around the place. So you can add engines, you can add rolling stock, you can add whole trains, so the whole consists. You can add markers for where scenarios start and stop. If you're building a scenario, you normally only put on the one. And you can add things into the world. So you can actually put things into a scenario in the world that don't exist in the route itself, which is kind of cool. Make different sounds. put people everywhere. Bridges. This is for just markers. So if you want to stop somewhere, so you've got the ones that are in the route already, but if you want to put in your own that aren't part of the route, so in that previous one I had quite a few of them. But anyway, the other thing you can do is run your scenario at a higher speed just to test it. That tests the AI pathing and routing. I have learnt that it's a really bad idea, because if you actually test using this and not driving, you've got no guarantee that it really works when you drive it. And the other thing they always say is, don't drive it from this button. But it's the only way out of the editor. Because I don't really care about this scenario very much, I am actually going to drive it from that button, because it'll be fine. It'll be all good. You wait. Put our light back on. Back into forwards, and off we go. This thing here is a signalling system. It tells you how fast you're allowed to go. I can't remember if the signals are on the left or the right for this one. I think they're on the right. I'm just kind of hoping that that signal down there is a green one for me, not a red one for me. Wouldn't make sense if it was anything else. So we're cruising out of train space. See, it's gone up to 17. If you go over that speed for long enough, it activates this plunger and it turns off your power. So we're in San Francisco. Yes, Roy, no code. Roy asked about, is it code? No, it's not. You can actually write code, though. You can. It's a scripting language called Lua, L-U-A. I've done a little bit of playing with it. It's a strange language, to be honest. We're now heading towards the Oakland Bay Bridge. Oops, going too fast. It's going to stop me if I don't slow down. So we've left the Trans Bay Terminal. Now, next week's stream, because I'll just drive this off into Oakland just so you can see what it's like from this one we just made. Too quick. Next week's stream, we'll be going back to Cane Creek. We'll be doing some different stuff, so I'll run one of the dirt loading scenarios rather than potash this time. And if we've got time, we might just put some fanciful trains on it. Just because we can. But I think the dirt load scenario will probably take the whole time, because it's most of the scenarios on Cane Creek are pretty long. We're now heading into the bottom tier of the Oakland Bay Bridge at the San Francisco end. This structure is exactly like this today, but it's cars now on this level. No more trains. Which is sad. It's a bit quiet, isn't it? That's better. Should be fairly stable, so if we pop outside the bridge. Can we pop outside the bridge? We can. So that's the big bridge that crosses over the bay. Bridge cam! Follow our train. Fortunately, I can still control him from here. So that's the fairly famous San Francisco wharves. And the ferry building. And the rest of the city. So we were in that structure over there. This is the city as it was in the 1930s. Still see our train over here as it's coming across the bridge. Just keeping an eye on its speed while we're out here. Its horn carries pretty well. jump into the bridge and watch it come along. Should see it appear in the distance any moment now. There it is. It's a couple of pixels. Let's jump back on him to go through the tunnel. Oh, it wants me to stop at the tunnel crossover. I thought I put a go via him, but I must have put a stop instruction in. That's cool. Oop, speeding. It's getting steeper, that's why. We're coming into the tunnel in Yuba Buena Island. Can't think how many times I've driven through here. Now we're heading into the part of the bridge that's different today. So this is the old Bay Bridge, which looked like it was made of Meccano. And it's a great big sweeping cantilever structure now. So for the person who just joined us, we are almost finished. But that's okay. We just quickly made a scenario so that people could see what was involved in doing it in a simple way. And we're just driving that now. We're crossing the Oakland Bay Bridge at the moment from San Francisco to Oakland. In an interurban. Which anywhere else in the world would be called a tram. But Americans don't like calling them trams, they call them trolleys and interurbans. And if you call it a tram in front of an American, they get mad at you. This bridge is quite steep downhill here. In the Lola Prieta earthquake, which I think was 1984, a huge chunk fell out of this bridge and quite a lot of people were killed. And it took them maybe 30, nearly 30 years to actually replace it with a earthquake tolerant bridge that's meant to be able to handle up to an 8.4, I think, the new one. Travis asks, what do they think a tram is? So we would call that a cableway. So those things like a gondola suspended on a cable. That's what they call a tram. So if you go to New York, for example, you can ride the Washington Island Tramway. which is in fact a cable car through the city, which is actually a lot of fun. I actually have to be somewhere else in a couple of minutes, but we'll finish this off, because I said we would, and then I'll join the other one. Almost slowed down too much then. Well, I did slow down too much. No, almost about it. Yeah, I did take great amusement because a friend of mine who lives in the Bay Area always yells at me when I call it a tram. But I had great amusement because there's a couple of Melbourne trams living in San Francisco, and I insisted that she call them trams because they're from Melbourne. Yeah, we're about to come off the bridge. Now, some vestiges of this rail yard are actually still here. But it's not overhead. So the Bark Railway does come through here, although it disappears into a tunnel and goes under the bay at about this point. And there's still some freight. This is the Port of Oakland we're in now. Certainly don't see it in this 1930s vision, but today it's all shipping around here. This end of it's trains and trucks, and the other end ships. So 2.5 miles will be there, and that's where I'll call it quits for today. And next week we'll be back on Cane Creek. Dovetail are making some kind of yes, trolley, interurban, streetcar. They do also have cable cars, which they do actually call cable cars, which were identical to the ones that ran in Melbourne. Exactly the same English builder. We're almost up to the street running portion of this. Now this thing coming up in front of us with all of the bridges and things, a lot of that is still there today, although there are much higher ones now. So that flyover that we're going under now, which is part of Highway, it's 80 here, I think, when it goes across the bridge. Also in today's world joins up with 24, 580 and 880. And it's got one of the most confusing roadsides ever, because American freeways are all denoted by, say, 880 north and 880 south. And you come up to this sign and it says 880 north, 880 south, 880 west and 880 east. And you have to try and pick your path through the maze to end up on the right freeway. And I always found it was lots of fun. But I'm weird like that. Quiet, you. Let's see what those signs say. They should say it's Highway 80. Oops. 8's what I want. Hey. Why can't I turn? Oh, 40 and 50. Ah, MacArthur Boulevard. Yeah, so this is actually street. This one's not freeway. And the East Shore Freeway doesn't exist anymore. Lucky it didn't stop me then. Oh well, we're almost at our stopping point. So you can see the sort of port infrastructure over to the side here. We have to obey the traffic lights up here. Hopefully they'll go green soon. They are now green, but the cars are still going through. We're almost at our stopping point anyway, so we're now in... We're about to enter Market Street, I think. Going straight here. Which is good, because those tracks don't go anywhere. All done. Apparently I didn't complete the scenario successfully. I'm pretty sure I got here, but I know what happened because I didn't stop there. I put in my scenario. But anyway, have a lovely day and enjoy yourselves. See you next week for some more Cane Creek. Have fun, folks. Bye now. Alright then, that brings us to a close for today. Thanks for watching the stream and I hope you enjoyed it. I welcome any and all feedback. Feel free to comment on the video. Constructive criticism is welcome, especially if I've got something wrong. I stream every Sunday morning starting at 8:30 AM, and I also do ad hoc streams from time to time during the week. Please subscribe and click notify to avoid missing out. Subscribing helps me by helping me see what content is good and how it helps the channel grow, or doesn't, as the case may be. So a little bit of info about me. I drive train simulators, but unlike some, that isn't my only railway experience. Today I operate on a preserved railway doing track inspections and operating as second person on the footplate in trains. I've driven steam, diesel, sparks and trams from time to time across several rail networks. I understand how trains work and how complex train forces enforce certain train handling procedures, especially around acceleration and braking. Generally when I'm driving a simulator, I try to be prototypical. I don't have a lot of in-cab video because we cannot do it while moving, but here's a short clip of me doing the cab half of a standing brake test to ensure continuity across the train. I build model trains in traditional means and have an ON30 logging railway and a Lego trains layout because I can. So yes, I'm not just a gunsel. I'm a proper trained nut. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.